The second stop on our field trip is called the Pantheon. Now let's go in there. Okay, the Pantheon of Rome, we're going to zoom out just a little bit so we can look at it, is this beautiful building here with the hole in the top of it. Believe it or not, it was actually built that way. Now, this Pantheon is a temple dedicated to all of the gods and is one of the best preserved monuments of ancient Rome. As you can see, it's all put together still. The Romans believed in many gods and goddesses. For everything imaginable, they had a god or goddess in charge. Let's go inside. Using this 360 cities, and let's look around. So this is what it would look like again if we were standing right here in the middle of it. Now, like I said, they had a god for everything. And this temple was built in part to worship those gods. You can see that here there are some changes made in later years, more recent changes. Obviously, at the time, Christ wouldn't have been there. But here, and throughout all of this temple, you'll see different statues built as shrines. They also have beautiful artwork here on the walls. So what's really cool is that, like I said, they have gods and goddesses for everything. Mars, for example, was the god of war. This meant that he was good at fighting, and it meant that he had most of all the soldiers at heart. So a Roman soldier would most likely be praying to Mars for strength in battle. On the other hand, Minerva was the goddess of wisdom, intelligence, and learning. Not many soldiers would ask her for help, but perhaps a schoolboy would ask her to learn his grammar or understand his math better. Or the emperor would ask her to give him wisdom so that he might rule his country more wisely. And so indeed the Romans indeed had hundreds of different gods. This entire collection of all of their gods was called the Pantheon. And this beautiful building showcases quite a few. Let's look outside now. We can look. Right now it's 7:30 at night that I'm making this recording. And we can actually see exactly what it looks like over in Rome at this time. So let's do that. So this image is updated every 15 minutes. We can actually even go to the website. Give it a second to load. And watch that webcam, and it'll show us exactly what that courtyard of the Pantheon is looking like right now. So here's that web page, and there is the Pantheon right now, what it looks like in the courtyard. You can see the statue out front and the lit up pool and the entrance to the Pantheon right here. Okay, so now let's transfer over to Google Earth. Okay, let's go back in here to the Pantheon. We'll zoom in a little bit. And we're going to look at these statues of some Roman gods. Right now our goal is to actually try to discuss as a class each individual god that I have up here. I have 3 up here. I'm not going to specifically tell you who they are just yet. Right now I want to discuss as a class this first one. Let's talk about what he's holding, who he might be, what he might be the god of, and why he might be portrayed to look the way that he does. Pause the video now and do that as a class. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, this god is clearly very tall. Let's talk about as a class what he looks like, the details on his body, and what he might be a god of, who he might be, and why he is portrayed the way that he is. Pause the video now to have that discussion. Okay, this last one that I have here, we're going to have the same discussion, and then afterwards I'll tell you who these three gods were, and we'll talk about whether or not we had that correctly. Pause the video now to discuss the final god. Okay, so by now you've discussed all three. I'm going to tell you real fast. This is Jupiter. He was the Zeus of the Romans. He was the god of all gods. This god here was Mars. He was the god of war. And on the bottom we have Neptune, the god of the ocean.